Hey,
We're back.
We're here, let the bells ring and the banners fly.
okay, we'll go with that. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering astronomy edutainment, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show.
Yeah.
Hey.
He's all the way in Ontario, so we got a little bit of a delay there.
That's
All right.
Hey, my name is Chris Kerwin. I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm also an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. I'd like to welcome back, first of all, my two regular co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moonshadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton. Paul, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And I'd also like to welcome back Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in St. John. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, right.
Hey. And I'd like to welcome all of you who are joining us tonight from YouTube and Facebook land. Thank you very much for your support. Okay, so tonight's episode on Sunday Night Astronomy Show. Now, our group of amateur astronomers here on the program are just a small part of a much larger picture. And we share the wonders of the night sky with other amateur astronomers around the world. And it can unite us in a way that no other hobby really can, by bringing together people from all ages to share in the wonders with us. Now, this year, we hope to bridge the gap between astronomy clubs and groups from many different places by inviting them to join us on the program. To reveal how stargazing is considered by the public in their area, what outreach activities work best for them to bring public into their under the night sky, and just to talk about what their night sky is like in their area. Now, this week we have reached out to a gentleman who calls his page the Bronte Astronomer. He joins us from Bronte, Ontario, where he, quote, pursues the principles of sidewalk astronomy, of setting up a telescope or telescopes in an urban environment, as well as providing a virtual experience through the Facebook group by sharing photos and experiences from fellow astronomers. This fellow astronomer is Marc Fitken, and Marc has been a loyal follower of our efforts here, and we're very pleased to welcome him to the show tonight. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you so much.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, and also tonight, Binal Bud will return with another fine binocular target of the week.
Yeah.
Paul will be delivering another Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Indeed.
And I'll have a quick look at some celestial events coming up this week. It's all about Mars this week, mostly, I'll say, and along with a few of your photo submissions. Just a few this week. I guess it's kind of been a drought this week for weather-wise, so, but we'll take it anyway. All right, so let's get started then with tonight's program and a little discussion with Marc about astronomy outreach in his area of the country and how he does with his outreach.
So I want to sort of talk about a brief history of what we did. And my audio is pretty good. It's excellent.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Sort of the history of what we started in the group was back in 2019. My wife and I were sort of thinking, well, maybe we should set up a telescope down by the harbor front and see what happens. Because previously I was part of the Mississauga Stargazers group, and that's sort of because of progress, if you want to call it that, or development, sort of canceled that from where we were meeting in the park. So I decided, oh, let's see what happens. And this is like 2019, right? So, and I'll show you, there's some pictures I can show when we set it up. And so we did it, and people were receptive of it. They enjoyed it. I mean, set up a telescope, everyone loves that, right? And looking at Jupiter, the moon, Saturn. And I thought, you know what, maybe this has some traction in the neighborhood, and we'll see what happens. And then we know what happened. It's now 2020, and the world ended. And that was the end of that. It just didn't work. Yeah. And it's interesting because COVID, and I don't want to minimize what the effects of COVID. I think COVID changed a lot of us, and it was a disaster. It was awful. It certainly changed how we approach things. So we got into 2022. That's when we started to actually take this a lot more seriously. And before that, we were setting up in a group called the Bronte Neighbors Helping Neighbors. It was just a Facebook group that was set up during COVID. And we were sharing, pictures and just myself being out with a telescope, and people are like, wow, that's really kind of cool. So we grew the group in that other group. And then finally I just said, you know what, let's just make a Facebook group, see what happens. And then in 2022, we set up scopes late summer, and it exploded. It was great. I couldn't believe we couldn't be more happy. I think what was the whole point was that people were starving for community of some kind, and of course it's free. It's easy to get to. So the only cost involved is maybe parking sometimes, and just your fuel. But Otherwise, people were really starved for connection and they wanted something unique. And voila, here it was. And that was great. That was the unfortunate that COVID happened, but that was the one positive outcome
Hmm.
that I thought was great. And wow, I mean, here we are in 2025 and we're still chugging along. And it's been fantastic. So that's sort of the brief history of what happened. And now currently, we're still meeting in the same park in terrible skies, which is fine. And it educates people on the light pollution. Um, the group essentially functions originally. What I really wanted was that anybody could be the Bronte Astronomer, because a lot of people look at the name and they go, "Oh, so you're the Bronte Astronomer?" Going, "Well, no, I am, but I'm not." I like to call myself, and I know my team hates it when I say this. I like to call myself the least important person in the room. I'm the guy who takes the ball and just kicks it. And it's like, okay, here, go see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, and then you rely upon a good team of people. And that's really the difference. I thank my volunteers all the time because without them, there's nothing. There's really nothing to go with. Certainly how elaborate it has become. So, with that said, the group functions. Uh, what we were doing was planning a date that was random, and then we would just go. Hopefully, a week later, give enough people enough time to plan. And that was one of the greatest complaints. So this year, what we changed was, okay, let's say we plan a hard date and say this is the date we'd like to go. This will satisfy the BIA, the Bronte Village BIA, satisfy their needs for scheduling, and then we can say to everybody, look, if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least we gave you a lot more time than just saying, oh, we're going out now, and well, good luck. So they didn't like that. It was sort of a communication issue. But then I also said, let's have a random date too. So we have a hard date and we have a random date, so nobody misses something. So hopefully we can go on this random date. And that was hopefully this occultation that comes up, but I think we're going to get canceled for that one. So that was sort of the random date we picked, and then we have the Planet Parade alignment Planet Parade. As you know, it's been mislabeled here and there. Hopefully that date will go. So people we're trying to satisfy what people really want. We listen to their feedback. Everyone says we're very friendly, we're very good, and that's really what is important. Is that feedback that we get back? Because when I founded the group, when Karen and I founded the group, my wife Karen, we said these are the four pillars that we have to go by, and these four pillars are the most important. And the first one was that they have respect, and the second one is dignity of everybody. And the third one was a safe environment, providing a safe environment. And the fourth one is to provide accessibility. And the fourth one's the hardest one because accessibility is not just one thing. It's yes, there is the AODA, Ontario Disabilities Act component, but um, the accessibility that we want to provide is also to groups that we recognize are not really popular in astronomy. That would be typically women, children, seniors, um, and then the LGBTQ plus community and minorities, and those who also don't have the financial resources to get into astronomy. So we recognize that as part of our accessibility. But the big thing was the night sky, and that's where being in an urban environment, as we all know, that's where we're really missing. We're not able to access that, and that's where the smart scopes, the Malin cams have come in and have shown people, okay, this is what you can really see. And maybe if we go into a dark sky, large aperture, you would be able to see these objects. Maybe not in color, not in the way that sea stars have presented it, but honestly, the organic experience has been fabulous. People have enjoyed looking through Dobsonians. They've enjoyed looking through my refractor here, my small teleview. That organic experience is the takeaway. So you still have to have it because that's what they remember. That's what we've sort of the feedback that's come back. Oh, remember that time I looked at, yeah, that's exactly what it was. You looked through the eyepiece, which is great, but also it's fantastic to have somebody with screens, somebody with a C star, somebody with a Malin cam like myself. Sometimes I'll bring that out to control the crowd. So we've had up to 300 people or more. So it's crazy to control that crowd into a long lineup behind an eyepiece when you can actually gather 50 or more in front of your screen and then show them. So that's been fabulous. And I really thank everyone who works so hard at their own cost and their own money, their own resources and equipment to make this possible, because I by myself, I can't do this. So that's why I say least important person in the room. So that's part of our success, is basically surround yourself with good and decent people who know more than you do. That's how you make it work. Because there's things I don't know. There's things in astrophotography that I can't do because I just don't have that brain. Maybe in the future it'll happen. But you need to surround yourself. Because I think a lot of people might say, and this is one of the challenges, because in talking with other people, they would say, well, wait a minute, I don't have a group in my hometown. And I say, okay, well, it's understandable. Is there any club? Is there any, no, there's no club. I said, well, then go out and do it. Just go out and start it. Well, I don't know anything. Well, you don't really, I mean, there's certain things you should know, some basics, but to not know something, just surround yourself with somebody. If you can find somebody who knows more than you are and they are good and decent, that's how you do it. That's how you get a good group of volunteers. So that's where we are. That's where we came from. Where we're going, I'm not a type of person who wants to say sort of, static. I want to keep things rolling forward. The next stage, hopefully, as we work through this, is to sort of unify people, unify other meetups, other groups, and because we really don't know what this looks like yet, almost form a movement. I'm looking at sort of province-wide right now, and not really national, but province-wide, a movement of backyard astronomy, of sidewalk astronomy, because it's so simple. I mean, it's come and look at the moon. That's our, that's what makes it so easy. Come and look at the moon. And anybody can do that. And that's what I think we're trying to do next, is sort of, okay, let's get together as a group. And we actually do have a Facebook group that's sort of slowly growing, but I'm not sure what to do with it yet. And to unify everyone and bring them together and say, okay, this idea works, this doesn't work so well. What can we do here? How can we help you? I mean, we're just going to guide. We're not going to set policy. It doesn't work that way. You want to have group autonomy. We want to support the local astronomy clubs because, and I do know that astronomy clubs can become inward looking. They can become more group think rather than outreach think. We want to support them and make sure that at some point there's going to be a flow of traffic to those groups and they will have much greater diversity and a future. That's what we really want to do. We want to take care of our local groups. The Bronte Astronomer is not the end point. It's the first point. It's the stepping stone to say, okay, here, this is what you can do. This is what you can see. This is what you shouldn't do, because that's part of the whole, nope scope, hobby killer. Don't do that. And then say, okay, take this next step. Go this direction. Go over here. See if this group works for you. That's what we want to do. So it's without borders. That's part of the accessibility is, and because I've had members come up and say, can we observe with you? And I'm going, why not? Well, it's not my club. I said, it's nobody's club. It's everybody's. It belongs to everybody. The Bronte Astronomer is not a group that's mine or Peter's or Victor's or whoever my volunteers are. It doesn't work that way. You're just here to do astronomy. We're here to gather people. That's what we do. It's all about gathering people. That's the most important thing. And then take those people and say, okay, this is where you can go to. This is what you can head to. That's the ultimate goal. So there's no border. There's no, this is my group and you can't come. No, it doesn't work that way. It is a group that is a stepping stone. It's the first step, not the last step. So that's where we'd like to take it. But hopefully, I'm not sure right now. It's sort of just one of those things. It's winter. Everyone's sort of hibernating right now. We're just going to see what happens next. So I do have some photos to share of what's been going on.
Yeah, great. Please. Yep.
So my time's still good.
Oh, yeah. Great. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I hit the share button, and is that working now?
I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Let's see.
There. Hang on there. Yeah, you come.
That work now?
There we are.
Okay.
We have photos.
So this is day one of the modern version of Bronte Astronomer in 2022, 2 televiews. Like having refractors, they're robust. They can, they're tough little scopes. I don't worry about them. I only worry about the eyepiece end. That's really the big thing in public astronomy, is worrying about what's going to happen to your eyepieces. I do use a couple of higher end ones, but I really shouldn't. I should probably just use the lower end Plossels. But this is where it really started to occur here in 2019, just setting up a random telescope. That's all we did. And that's the 76 on a basic tripod. We're looking at the moon, and people were like, wow, that's cool. I managed to walk down my 4-inch refractor all the way to the beach. We're looking at about, or the harbor. That was about, oh, I don't know, 10, 15-minute walk. So carrying all that equipment down there, and I managed to set it up, and we just had a blast with people gathering together. There was nobody there at the time. And then people started to hear about us locally and on Facebook, and started to get more volunteers. With the Dobbs are a big help. I got to say, they're so easy to aim, so easy to look through. They're great for crowd management because it's a big scope. People love to be attracted to it. They gravitate towards it. Having a Dobsonian is fantastic because it can show so much detail, especially on the planets. There we are as a group. The volunteers can be, most of the time we have the same group of volunteers, but whoever shows up, as long as you have a telescope and you're willing to set it up and allow people to look through it, then that's how it works. All right. There's no just, it's my telescope, you can't look through it. We get a little more elaborate now. We have this setup here. You can see my mouse. That's a sea star. Our friend Pierre sets up a nice screen. He spent quite a bit of money on his screens, and he handles a lot of traffic. A lot of people will gather around him, and he's got the perfect voice for this, which was fantastic. A very nice, smooth French accent. A wonderful human being. And he just has this ability to reach people beyond what I can do. Again, a wonderful human being to work with. Grandpa Pete here behind. He's still expecting a paycheck from me. So if he is watching, he does know that our budget is a multiple of 0. So that's his pay right now. So he's been looking for his pay. But anyway, he sets up his 10-inch Dob, which is there. And of course, I've got my setup for the Malancam. Again, it's a great setup. We've got a sea star here. There's a dwarf over here. Just that mixture of what we can do, because it's important that they look through the telescope. It's also important that they see detail as a result. It's hard to show people something like M81 in this location because you go, ooh, wow, look, I found M81. They're like, oh, okay, well. But then putting a sea star on it or putting the Malancam on it, they're like, oh, wow, that's actually kind of cool. So here we are in our solar day. We call this double whammy day. It's one of the hardest days for us. We do a solar and a nighttime event. It's trying on us as we sit in the sun and then proceed to go through the nighttime. So we're here around 12 o'clock and we stop around 10:30 at night. So it's a tough day, but it's fun. We get a lot of people, a lot of traffic. Here's Kyle. He's looking with his sea star and his dwarf, and he's doing solar, and it's fantastic because it's perfectly safe. There's no risk of looking through the telescope, looking through the eyepiece. Fabulous way to do solar, and people really love to see that. They also like to look through the eyepiece and see it live. They're almost afraid to look through it. They're like, "Why, really? You want to look at the sun? That's crazy." But yeah, you get them to do that. And then, of course, anytime you bring a really big Dob, this is our friend Brent. He brought his 15-inch Newtonian, or a 15-inch Dobsonian, which I helped him bring from his car. And that attracts a huge lineup. Everybody loves this telescope. They love to look through it. And we're actually looking at the moon, or we might have been looking at Saturn at that night, but there's a couple of nights we were like, oh, wow, that's a lot of aperture for the moon. But yeah, that's a great night. We're looking at Saturn. I think that night, that was fantastic through a big Dob. So it attracts a huge crowd. And here we are again, just with the regular setup. It's not difficult to set up there. We just basically arrive, set up in what we call the half moon. Looks like a half moon circle there, and just set up our equipment. And there we are at nighttime. The crowds can get up to about 300 people or more.
Wow.
And you can see here, this is Pierre's area here where people are gathered, and that's how you can control the crowd. So there can be naysayers with the electronic experience, but that electronic experience is fantastic for crowds. And here again, we have an open truss daub. My 4-inch refractors here that night. It's just been a fabulous night with people. And of course, there's another image. My classic SPC6, you may remember those days. Another fantastic little scope to do astronomy with. So, and there we are at night. And it's been great. It's been great. There we are. That's what I'm sharing.
Which direction are you looking right there, Mark? Are you looking?
I am
south?
looking almost due south here.
South, yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at there. Almost due south. So our southern sky is actually pretty good. And it's great for planets because it's wide open.
Mhm.
Our northern sky is terrible, and our eastern sky basically faces downtown Toronto. So that's just yucky. It's planet-wise fine, but
Yeah.
you know, stuff that's rising in the east, it's terrible. It's kind of like saying, well, where's the beehive? I'm going, well, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's over the city.
So you're
But
well suited for screens as well.
yes, fantastic for screens.
Because it's
Absolutely.
not going to bother anybody's night vision there, right? So,
No,
yeah.
not at all. We got lights, and that's one of the problems with the lights that you're seeing here. This particular street light that looks kind of green there in the corner interferes with sea stars. It actually throws them off.
Okay.
It goes kind of haywire there. It doesn't like those street lights. The Dobbs, it's terrible. The Dobbs, you get that awful glare.
Yeah.
So there's a little story if I still have time.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a little story where I set up the 76 for and forgive me, the Green Comet. We called it the Green Comet. I can't remember the name of it. I just lost it. Anyway, we were looking at one of the comets. Certainly wasn't the one that just went through. And the 76 was on it, and we're just sort of tracking it. I got lucky, I found it. And I had a big lineup behind the telescope, but I didn't care about it. I didn't, you know, I just let everyone look, take your time, and I managed to position myself where I could block these silly street lights. And I had a girl, maybe 11, 12 years old, and she went up to the eyepiece, and she was struggling with it. She couldn't see it because the light and everything. And I said, just wait, just give it a few minutes. I'll block the street light, and just wait. And she waited and she waited, and then she just had like, oh my, oh my, oh my, and she started to cry.
Yeah.
She started to cry. It was such a powerful experience for her. I had to look away because I was like, oh no, I'm going to lose it. So, oh boy, yeah. We don't want to make people cry, but there she is having this experience. And I said later to our team, I said, you know, there's somebody whose trajectory we have just changed. The path that she took, we've nudged it a different direction slightly, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe something will come of that in the future. She'll remember that moment in time. And it was fantastic. And that's exactly what we were all about, is just taking somebody's life and saying, hey, take a look at this. And then watch them sort of just alter themselves just a bit with a little more information than what they had before. That's what we do. That's what we want to do, is gather people.
So you're in the Ontario area. That's which lake's that?
That is Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
So you've got quite a population all the way around you, don't you?
Yeah, we what are we? We're 4 million in Toronto alone, aren't we? 3 million or something, and we're looking at 5-6 million in the area. It's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. So you could probably set up every clear night and get a lot of people through there then.
Yeah, and it's funny because the traffic from the Facebook group is good, and we've never really sort of, you know, looked at it from statistically, but the park is also very busy. So we get a lot of traffic from the park. So every time we hold an actual outing like this, like a public astronomy night, we get a lot more traffic than on Facebook. It follows up with more members. So there's a lot of new people. Oakville now is, I was going to say it's over 100,000 people.
Wow.
But more than that now. But yeah, it's there's still a lot of people to reach.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of opportunity here, especially being in a public park like this. And this is a very popular park that holds festivals, that holds summertime concerts. It's a very well-known park in the GTA. So yeah, and it's safe. That's the other thing too. It's a very, very safe park. There's no real issues going on, except the odd firework, but we're not worried about that. So yeah.
So it's an eventful park, is it?
Sorry.
It's a park that they hold a lot of events there.
Yes, they do. There's every Thursday night we have a music night in the summertime, and then we have another music night on Wednesdays. And if we set up, we're going to get a lot of volume going through there.
Yeah.
And we look at it as sort of the fair usage of the park. You know, if you're fishing, that's one thing. We're doing astronomy, so there's no real issue with using the park. And as you can see, we keep the telescopes out of the main pathway. That's one thing that we keep saying to everybody. Just keep them all here and don't block the path so everyone can walk through. And yeah, we just, as we go by, Peter's really great at this. We just say, come look at the moon. Some people think we're selling something, but we're not. Well, we are, but we're not. So they look at us kind of like, what are you doing here, right? So you get that odd reaction, but most people are very receptive. They're like, wow, this is really cool. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
By the look at your photograph there, that curve, eventually, if you get enough people down there, you're going to run out of space. Are you allowed to encroach onto the lawn down there and set up?
We can. Yeah, it's a big playing field. We can use the lawn. We have used it.
Right on.
Everyone has to bring their own power. It avoids any conflict with the town or any requirement to use cords, tripping hazard. Everything is all internalized. Everyone has spent their resources, their money on bringing portable power. So that made it a lot easier because that was part of our accessibility issue is, are we able to show these objects that are up there? And one of the answers was, well, we're not there yet because we don't have enough power. So we actually got people to buy power stations, lithium ion power stations, and it's been a lot better. So, and then when my Christmas present comes in, it's going to be even better.
There you go.
So I got to wait for that to happen. So
I find it interesting, the way you explained it. It's very similar to what we do when we go down to St. Trans Beach and set up. We just go down, a bunch of us, and set up. And anybody that comes along, doesn't matter who they are, what they're interested in. A lot of people are like, what's going on? Nothing. We're just setting up. And if you want to have a look, come on over.
That's right. So that's it. And people are very receptive to that. When they look at Saturn, they always think I'm a liar. They think that can't be real. I said, no, that's real. That's not a painting. I'm not pointing at a painting. I'm pointing at that point of light. That's Saturn.
Yeah, I've had people go up to the front of my telescope and look in the front because they thought it was hanging something there in front.
Right.
Like, ornament.
So they're baffled. They're like, you can't see that. Yeah, you can. Here it is. And that's why I love my refractors for, because they're big, they're tough. They know what they're I don't worry about them. I've let kids point my 4-inch Vixen because I don't worry about it. It's built like a tank. I just worry about the eyepiece. That's it. It's just the eyepiece. If something's going to go wrong in public astronomy, if something goes wrong, it'll be at the eyepiece end.
Yeah.
How do you make it with volunteers, Mark? Do you get lots of volunteers? I mean, or how do you convince volunteers to join with you? I guess.
I'm very thankful for the Hamilton Center of the RASC.
Okay.
Because they've been very grateful with sending us people our direction through Victor and Jane. They have done an excellent job at providing a dedicated, friendly group of people who are really, really into something like this. So I'm very thankful for them. Otherwise, it's been almost accidental. People have been like, wow, can I do this? I said, sure, why not? As long as you have a telescope, as long as you understand how we function. A lot of our volunteers are local people who just happen to have telescopes, some from Acton, some from middle of Oakville, some from Mississauga, and they come out with their scopes and they help out. So it's been fabulous.
Awesome.
That's great.
So I was wondering, based on where you are, because I've been up in that area a few times, and in the summertime it can get pretty humid and hot and whatnot. So how is your viewing conditions throughout the year there?
Well, in the winter, I like to say that when it gets really cold, it's nice and clear. But then we can't put people at risk. So we've always said at -10, sort of cut it off right there. Because then when you're set up next to the lake, it's a constant wind. So that wind chill is a big factor. At -10, we say, okay, that's about the limit. We don't want to put people at risk. We don't want to hurt them. So we say, no, don't go below -10. Now, in the summer, assuming there's no fires, right? Because that's usually one of the bigger problems. We do get a lot of humidity. For planets, I really don't worry about it. For deep sky, it's terrible, of course. I would say April, maybe even March, April, May tends to be our best time. June,
Mhm.
July tend to be one of our worst, only because we have to vacate the park at 10:30. Well, the sun
Oh,
sets
yeah.
at 10.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
great, yay. There's your half hour.
Mm.
So June and July, unless it's a Saturday, and even then it's not great. They tend to be terrible. August and September and October tend to be really good months. It tends to be very clear,
Mhm.
less humidity. November can go either direction, and this December has been the typical December. It's just been clouded out.
Yeah.
Or when it isn't cloudy, it's predicted as cloudy, and we think it's cloudy, and then it's not.
Yeah.
So, and then, the real cold comes in again, and then forget it. So
Mhm.
hopefully we'll go on the 23rd. I think we have our next event, and this occultation, which is Monday, right? That's Monday.
Right.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Monday.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
But I think I looked at the forecast, and it looks like it's going to be terrible down here. But you never know, because I get forecasts that say it's cloudy, forget it, and then it's clear. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Welcome to astronomy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's the most weather sensitive hobby, and maybe aside from boating, I don't know if that's worse. I've been told, my friend Paul says I'm in the worst two hobbies. He's sailboat and astronomy. So, right?
I go the other way. So they're the best two hobbies, but
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's where we're going, I hope. Build a positive experience province wide. I love shows like this. This has been fantastic. I said to Peter one day, I said, the best thing you ever did, Peter, was introduce me to the guys down east. He says, really? I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, that is a great show to work with, because then it ties everyone together. And
Oh.
this actually, it's this show where my traditional thinking of what you do with astronomy was challenged. And I can't remember, forgive me, it's a dad and his daughter.
Oh, Joey and Haley.
Star, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That episode just blew me out of the water, and I just went, I was 12 years old once and never had
Mhm.
that.
right.
So
Yeah.
in the future, something's changing. I guess that sort of gave it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that particular episode was fantastic. I thought, you know what? We've got something. We got a stick of dynamite here for public astronomy, and we have had multiple sea stars come out. The dwarf has come out,
Yeah.
and the results have been fantastic, because the moment you bring those results, and then we can share them on Facebook, and that's what's fantastic about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
So
it's the whole John Dobson thing, like
it is.
it's a
It's
sidewalk astronomer and him, and yeah, I mean, he did it for years and years in San Francisco, just on the street corners, people going by, and he'd say, "Hey, come look at the moon," and they thought he was, crazy kind of thing, but then
That's
they would
right.
stop and take a look. So I mean, he his whole life was on that. So
Yeah, Joey and Haley are watching, so
how are they?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So forgive me for not remembering their names, but that episode really opened my eyes, and I thought, you know what? That's public astronomy of the future. But it's fantastic because, again, accessibility. That's the
Yeah.
big point.
Yeah.
From someone who is a mild visual impairment or something of that effect, terrible skies, which is really the worst thing that's out there.
Yeah.
And we have terrible skies down at the park. So it sort of circumvents that, and we don't have to have people travel an hour or an hour and a half or more to a dark sky location, when almost nobody can commit to that kind of time frame.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's the great flaw in astronomy is, well, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as the old saying goes, those who usually in the city can afford to do it, but the ones in the country can't afford to do it, but they have the sky, or whatever it was, whatever that saying was.
Yeah.
But in the city, we don't have that access, and we don't have that time. And along comes the smart scope,
Yeah.
or the Cam at the time, which
yeah,
is also a very great tool for both visual impairment and for accessibility to any object that you couldn't see. these smart scopes are really going to change the game,
Oh, yeah.
public astronomy, and it already has, as we've already seen the outcome. People looking at the Horsehead Nebula at Bronte Village Park, like, really?
Right.
So here it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been very pleased with that.
We'll get you to stop sharing there for a minute so we can get the four of us on the screen. We can all talk together here.
Sure. How do we do that?
They're right at the bottom there on your screen should say stop share.
I have a drop down that's sharing. Let's see.
I think if you hit escape, maybe it might pop up. No?
Maybe
I
at the
don't know
bottom.
if I got that
Screen.
right. Let me see. It should say stop. Oh,
Okay.
you know what? Hit the red button. That'll help.
There you go. Got you now.
Never hit the red button.
I've been always told, never hit the red button. Never hit the red button. Now I'm hitting the red button.
Wasn't he a comedian, Red Button?
Yeah.
Red buttons, yeah, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but you mentioned Joey and Haley there. Haley is really picking it up. Like she's got a family that's supporting her along the way as well, right? I mean that helps a lot too. But she's so smart in the hobby already. And when I'm in classrooms talking to kids, I see that interest. You know, it's really there.
Yeah.
This generation coming up, they're the 8 to 14-year-olds are just right on
Yes.
top of it. You know, they want that information. They're like a
That's
sponge.
right.
Yeah.
Give them enough information. I mean, a 45-minute talk for me turns into an hour and a half, just like that. Of course, I
Yeah.
can talk anyway. I know, but
Oh, it's something else. I mean, again, I don't want to take up too much time, but as a side note, when I was at Starfest, and Karen will laugh at me now because I'm going to tell this story, is when I finished my talk, which included slides of you guys, which was great, and can show who you guys are. I came into the end. This young man comes up to me, child actually. I thought he was 9 years old. He might have been 11. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. He says, I have some trouble with my 10-inch Dob. And I was just sort of like, what? You? Okay. That's inside my head, right? Huh? Okay. And I said, well, then we went over, talked to Victor, and we had a great conversation about the 10-inch Dob. He says, yeah, but I also have a C star. And I'm like, oh boy. Wow. When I was 12, let me tell you a story about my little rinky dinky 60 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed with what he knew and what he saw, and I thought, wow. And again, he's that age group.
Yeah.
He's a sponge,
Hmm.
and he's going to learn so much with a big, nice Dob and a C star S50. I thought, wow, dude, you were really on the path.
Yeah, and technology doesn't scare them. You know, they just
No,
jump.
not at all.
It's just
Not
it's
at
just,
all.
it's a joke to them today.
Well, they pick it up so fast now. Like
Yeah.
they're growing into it. So
Well,
And
and
you-
then there's the onslaught of all this space exploration that's just starting to just resurge like crazy. And so there's actually, there's careers for people in this now.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're certainly being exposed to a lot more than we were when we were kids, right? I mean,
Yeah.
have that kind of
Yeah,
exposure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Mark. Appreciate
Oh,
that.
you're welcome.
It's great to be able to hear what's happening in other locations and how
Sure.
you guys are making out with your outreach in your area. But we're hoping to have you back on again, sir. For sure.
Absolutely.
We're going to continue on with the show. Stay with us, of course. Stay with us, right after the show's over, because we're going to be chatting afterwards. So too.
Okay.
So okay, all right. We're going to move from there then to Vinyl Bud. Mike,
I know, bud.
you're up, sir.
I think I got the right one this time.
You
All righty, back to old school. Binocular targets. Binocular target of the week this week by Bino Bud is Lambda Lambda. Now you go, what the heck is a Lambda Lambda? Well, it's exactly what it looks like. The Lambda Lambda is a figure that has the shape of the Greek letter lambda. The star Lambda Orionis is part of this asterism, which explains why it has such a suitable name. How do I find it in the sky? Well, if you went out at 10 o'clock tonight and it wasn't cloudy and you oriented yourself 160 degrees southeast and looked up, you see Orion on the rise. You look over and you see Betelgeuse. Come up off the top. It makes like a triangle off the top of Orion. And there's Lambda Lambda right there at the very top. It's not that hard. Here's a little closer view. And you look across, come up, and there you go. It's right in there. There's the Lambda shape. What does it look like? Well, just like it says, the Greek letter lambda. It kind of forms it. You can use your imagination and draw the lines in there and make it look even better, but that's what it is. 10 by 50 binoculars. She's a pretty large target. Easy to see. The stars are bright, so you'll be able to make it out. Compared to the full moon, she's got to be at least 2, maybe 2.5 full moons across. So it is a good target, large target, easy to see in 10 by 50s. And here we go. What is an alien with 3 eyes called? An alien. Anyway, that's why they're called painful puns. And that's Binocular Target of the Week by Bino Bud.
Oh man!
Sorry you had to sit through that, Mark. We should have warned you about that ahead of time.
It's not the first
If
time.
you've tuned in, you've probably seen it before.
Oh wow! I don't know where he comes up with them, but
I don't either.
Well,
no.
well the nice
I'm
thing
so glad
about
he has.
Bino Bud is I call it Teleview Bud.
There.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
got
It
the
works
field of view, so
Yeah.
pretty much.
Enough. Okay, let's get on. Thanks, Mike, for that. Let's get on to Rosanna's fun fact maybe next.
All right, let me give that a try, and I'm going to try to get through it. I've been getting beat up by a cold this week, so we'll see if I
Okay.
can get all the way through without losing my breath. So we'll see.
All right.
All right, let me see if I can make this happen. All right, let's see if I can share a MWA screen. Oh, I just lost it.
I'm watching something.
Yeah, no, it's just hit the wrong screen. My brain's not functioning tonight anymore. There we go. And this is this week's.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Welcome back, Rosanna, for another absolutely wonderful fun fact. Did you hear that, by the way?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So let me just excuse me. I really have struggling here. All right, just give me 1 second to get the information up. Everything's stuck on the screen now. There we go. All right, so Rosanna writes, hi, Paul. December 2024 was a month of record-breaking events in the space category. Let's start with the sun. When it isn't cloudy, there is approximately 1 more minute of daylight as each day passes. If anyone is counting, and I am, there are 66 days until spring. All right, just 1 second. I've got the pictures up. That's not the one. That's the one. There we go. All right, 66 days until spring. This image from NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory shows the sun as it appeared on January the 8th, 2025. The Solar Dynamics spacecraft observes the sun from Earth orbit about 150 million kilometers, 93 million miles, from the sun on average. But another NASA mission just got a whole lot closer. The Parker Solar Probe made history in late December, excuse me, when it just flew just 6.1 million kilometers, or 3.8 million miles, above the surface of the sun. Do you know how close to the sun you were flying? That's hilarious. Unlike Icarus, just a second, there we go. Unlike Icarus, the Parker Solar Probe made it through the pass safely. And of course, there's an image of what the probe is, the journey through the sun's atmosphere, and it did get around. So close passes like this allow the Parker Solar Probe to study the sun like no other spacecraft can, and important discoveries have already been made. And this image is from NASA. So here is a still from the video made in 2021 from the Parker Solar Probe, which shows streamers from the sun and the Milky Way in the background, a space view unlike any seen before. This recent pass also broke another record. At its fastest, the Parker Solar Probe traveled at a staggering 692,000 kilometers per hour, or 430,000 miles an hour, or about 192 kilometers per second. Another record breaker involves the Chinese takonauts. Excuse me, Commander Shitsuji, and that's all I can say, and Song Ling Dong spent over 9 hours on the outside of the Tanagan Space Station on December the 16th, 2024, beating the 2001 record of 8 hours and 56 minutes set by NASA astronauts James Voss and Susan Helms. The Taconauts carried out various tasks, one of which was installing space debris protection devices. The year 2024 was also a banner year for space launches, with a total of 258 successful orbital launches. If you wanted to nerd out over all the types of launches, failures, and subcategories, there is a 104-page document online, Space Activities in 2024, by Jonathan McDowell, and you can look at that at planet4589@gmail.com. 2025, January 2, here is one of his charts, and that's just one of those things that talks about some of the launches. Although this is a cool way to look at record number of launches, a little less pleasing for those of us who like to stargaze is the chart of satellites deployments of 2024, 2852 down from 2900 in 2023. So I think we're talking about amounts of missions versus years, so that gets a little confusing. In the 2,852 satellites listed here in Appendix 2B, that's this one right here, have been deployed during 20 satellite launched in the previous years and deployed in 2024. So since it is still January, and I think I can toss out a small New Year's resolution or two for our viewers, how about breaking your own record of observing the night sky or the sun or both for 2025? Of course, this means one would have to keep track. Yeah, I'm ready to get down. What else? And that's this week's
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Awesome.
Oh man,
Yeah.
she has got so much interesting stuff. That's not crazy.
Think
But
about
anyway,
that
that's a
Parker.
lot of launches, isn't it?
Oh, it's crazy. And think about that Parker Solar Probe, 692,000 kilometers per hour. So it's only 400,000 kilometers to the moon. So you make it to the moon in a little less than an hour, I guess, 3/4 of an hour.
You're moving.
You're removing.
Enough time to have lunch on their way up.
Yeah. It was a CALM bomb, CALMBALM. Maybe you know who that is, Mark. It's on here. It says Parker Solar Probe is currently the fastest man-made object ever.
Yeah, there you go.
It's been talking about the location. It says the location is a happy medium between enough foot traffic and dark enough skies. So,
Well, there you go.
yeah. So anyway, awesome. Thank you, Rosanna.
Yes, absolutely.
Another great topic. And for sure, people need to keep a log for sure to find out where they are.
Before we get into that, Chris, Tim Doucette wanted us to show one of his photos. I'll let you talk about the other stuff, but I'm just going to show his picture just because it's so darn cool. This is the Flamestar Nebula, I guess, or Flaming Nebula. I just want to show the photo. Just give me 1 second here. Let me know when you can see it. You see it now?
There it is. Yeah.
Here you are.
So this is an absolutely wonderful photograph. I don't have the technical data on what he did to capture it, but man, when you look at this, we've got that reflection nebula on the front of the hydrogen alpha, which is absolutely gorgeous. Control that star right there, because that star is so hard to control, and everything that he did with this photograph is just absolutely stunning. Now, for those who don't know who Tim Doucette is, he owns Deep Sky Eye down in Quinnan, Nova Scotia, and he's got astronomy business there where it's like a retreat, and people come down and they visit him there, and he spends the whole weekend showing them astronomy, and that's what it's all about. But Tim's also an avid astrophotographer, and his photography for work is just absolutely stunning. And this came out, I believe, out of his 14-inch Smith Cassegrain that he's got in his observatory, and the detail and the objects that are in this photo are unbelievable. I was just scanning a little bit um, before we went on air just to see if I could find some other little galaxies in there, and I did. If you look really close, there's galaxies all over the place through this, and that's the neat thing about a really nice, clear, clean image is there's so much to see besides the target itself. If you really want to take a dive in and have a good look at what's actually behind it, because most of the times this is what's in front, but everything else that you see is way in behind. So there's on a really, really nicely done image, there's so much you can study just on one photograph. It's unbelievable. So nicely done, Tim. Congratulations on an amazing photograph.
Yeah, and he asked if we could just make a mention that he's starting to take bookings for the summer, starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you call it, look up the Deep Sky Eye, get a hold of Tim, and you'll have a good time down there.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Tim. And thanks, Paul, for sharing that. Okay, I'm going to get to just a few photos because we don't have very many here tonight. I guess it's been kind of cloudy out for everybody anyway, so I didn't get a whole lot of.
I got one I took through the clouds if we got a second.
Go ahead, sir. Yes.
It was when you mentioned that the moon was going to be going through the Pleiades.
Oh, actually, that's in my book, my 5
is it?
photos to show. That's okay.
That's actually 2 shots. Of course, the first shot I took was the moon dark to get the moon. And then the second shot, I blew the moon way out in order to try to find some stars, and I did. So then putting the two together and using levels and curves and all that good stuff, it's a composite image of the moon going through the Pleiades cluster with the stars. So I was quite impressed to actually get it, even though it was quite a cloudy night. So
Yeah,
But how did you capture it, Mike? Did you just use your camera and lens?
yeah, I was what was I using for that shot? Oh, my Sigma 150 to 600. I think it was at 150. And then of course my new camera, the R
R6.
So
awesome. That's
And,
pretty cool.
Great.
It's nice.
I was so surprised to see the stars and said, okay, I blew the moon out. There's bound to be stars here, and there were. So that I mean, it was easy enough to get the moon. It was the hard part was to get the stars. So
You know what's really cool about seeing that image? It reminds me a lot of what it's like when you actually see a blood moon. And because you see the moon, but it's red and it's really so dimmed by the shadow that you can also see all the stars around it too. And you don't have to take 2 shots to get it. You can just shoot one and you get it all. And so when I see that image, it just reminds me of that. So anyway, nice job.
well, it's fun to try a composite.
Yeah,
Very good.
And we'll get that
I
chance
tried
March
it
the
my
14th
phone
for a
on
total.
Anyway, if you had that in your group, you could knock that one out.
Well, we'll go by it.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, let me get. There isn't, like I said, there isn't a whole lot to here to share tonight anyway. So.
Well, our weather hasn't been on our side either. So
Well, that's what's been happening for sure. So, you got that one there? Up.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so,
the X and the V. Yeah.
Can you blow that up, Chris?
Can I what?
Can you zoom in on that?
I think so. Yeah.
There, now we can see the
There.
V and the X better.
There's the V and the X up here. Yeah. Kathy Adams, her moon on January 6th. She said complete with a lunar X and V with her dwarf 3.
There you go.
And Kathy.
Does Kathy have a website she shares?
I don't know if she has a website. I know she's on Facebook.
Okay.
And well, she does share pictures to our local astronomy club page too.
Okay.
But I don't think she has a complete website. Maybe if Kathy's on here, maybe she can comment here for us. But she does do.
We have a group that's astro imaging tutorials, and that's where she posts a lot of her stuff there. But I'll talk with you after the show, Mark. We'll see what we can do here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on from there, we got this one here, the Witchhead Nebula. She said a good window last night. I'm on Bortle 2 to 3 sky, so gave this a try. Really happy with the result. My dwarf 3, 63-second stubs, gain of 60 for almost 2 hours. Stacked in serial, then in Photoshop. Also topaz denoise. And next time she said we'll use mosaic mode to capture it as well. So
Wow.
The rest of it, it's big.
Yeah, it's a big target.
A big target.
target. Yeah.
I definitely want to add her to our content.
There
Absolutely.
you go.
Speaking of Joey, now I did grab a photo from Joey here. He said last night, he said there was a few holes in the cloud, so I decided to run a little test. I wanted to see if I could capture the reflection nebula in front of IC 405, the Flaming Star Nebula. I managed to get a decent shot by using filtered and then unfiltered data, 50 minutes of each, and combining them. He said, here's the results. So here we go again. Flaming
Yeah,
Star.
very, very nice. Both of those guys did a great job on that.
Yeah.
And what impressed me about this photo, if you zoom in just a little
Yeah.
bit, just have a look at his stars. The
Yeah.
color of those stars are absolutely
Oh, yeah.
wonderful, nice and round, smooth. Really, really good job on those stars.
See, stars aren't all the same color, people.
But you know
Yeah.
what? When you're
Yeah.
doing astro, to get those stars like that, I mean, that in of itself is a big accomplishment. So, good job on you, Joey,
Well
for
done.
that.
Well done, Joey. Thanks. Okay, and Mr. Powell's capture, we already seen that, but we'll take another
Yep.
quick.
Tell us about it again, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm losing a lung. I can't.
Okay, I'm going to end with one more here from Francois Theriault. I always love to get his shots up here. This is SH2-119, the Clamshell Nebula in Cygnus. A reprocess of an image I captured last summer, he said, using a wide field telescope. Now, the region is just south and east of the North American Nebula in Cygnus. A vast area, I don't know where that is, Paul, you can tell us that maybe later on. A vast area of gas clouds and star-forming regions. I found it very difficult to process due to the high nebulosity and lack of contrast across the subject. He used a Skywatcher EVO guide 50 ED, focal length of 242 millimeters. Camera was a ZWO ASI 1600 millimeter Pro. Exposures altogether was 12.35 hours total time.
Yeah.
So it shows.
Look at the dark dust lanes and the definition in them, and
Yeah.
stars are just absolute pins. It's
Look
beautiful.
at that.
I don't know how that's coming out on YouTube or Facebook.
It looks good, Chris.
Very
I'm glad-
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice.
So fantastic, Francois. I love sharing your shots. Great,
Yeah, great work.
job. Yeah. Okay, well, if you have photos you want to share, you know where to send them right here, Sunday Night Astronomy Show. Send them to astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to put them up on our next broadcast for sure. Okay, quickly to a few events coming up. They're going to start with, I guess this is tonight. Mars is at its, actually it's all about Mars this week. Mars is at its closest approach really to Earth tonight, but it doesn't reach opposition until Wednesday night. That sounds a little weird that, we're not in a straight line, that it's closer tonight than it is when three of us are in a straight line. But it's because Mars has a bit of a circular, elliptical orbit as we do. And when Mars is at opposition, the Sun, Earth, and Mars are all lined up, and this happens every 2 years. So our best viewing for Mars is now. It actually rises when the sun sets and sets when the sun rises. And it's really about due south at midnight. Now, also tomorrow we have the full wolf moon. And that's not a super moon this month. Those are later on in the year, but moonrise is always pretty when you can catch the moon at the horizon. So we have moonrise in the northeast at 4:35 p.m. That's early. And the full moon is at 6:26 p.m. So hopefully you'll get a chance to take a look at that. While you're out looking at the moon, save your time for a little bit later because we got this event happening tomorrow night. So a lunar occultation of Mars, which is pretty rare. Now, since the moon and the planets follow along that imaginary line across the sky that we call the ecliptic, occasionally the moon will pass in front of or occult one of those objects, like they did with the Pleiades the other night, and it does with planets every once in a while. Now, on tomorrow night, that object will be the red planet Mars. Mars will disappear behind the moon at around 10:35 p.m. Atlantic time in the southeastern sky. It will reappear from behind the moon at 11:49 p.m. Atlantic time. Mars is at opposition this week as well, so it's best viewing of the year 2 days later on the 15th. So we may be offering this live tomorrow night. We're going to take a look and see if it's possible to get it. Mike and I were talking about it here before the show, and we'll see if it's possible to offer a live feed of it. But if you get an opportunity, you can get out with a pair of binoculars. Now, Mars is going to be fairly dim when you're looking close to the moon, but if you've got a telescope that you can zoom in on the moon with, you'll be able to catch it there at the corner as it disappears. So that's only for us in North America. I think it's on from about central to east. So anyway, that's the event of next week, and looking ahead to next Sunday night. Now, if you're looking to the southwest now, in most evenings, if you get a clear sky, you're going to see two objects kind of approaching each other. That big, beautiful, brilliant Venus, that's, pretty well, real unmistakable out there. But then you've got also dim Saturn that's creeping in on it. So look to the southwest after sunset on next Sunday to witness the brilliant Venus and the ring beauty Saturn as they form a beautiful conjunction. Now remember that the 19th is just their closest pairing. You can watch the planets approaching each other, then drifting apart from now until the end of the month. And now, so this picture on the left is looking southwest at 7 p.m. Now this is through a field of view of 10 by 50 binoculars. So they're easily just within a couple of degrees of binoculars. So that's coming up next Sunday night. Not that we want you to miss the show, but you can always catch the show and then go out later.
Yeah, binocular target of the week.
There you go.
Well, you take your phone up with you and you watch the show while you're
looking at it.
Now you're talking.
Now you're talking. All right, and of course, there's been a whole lot of talk about this planet parade happening, in the sky. Oh, it's only going to be on January 25th, by the way. No, it's not. It's been viral, hit the internet just like crazy. Everybody's talking about January 25th. Well, it takes Saturn 30 years to orbit the sun. It takes Jupiter 12 years, I guess. So they're in our sky pretty well every night right now. They're not going to disappear on the 26th or the 24th and just magically appear on the 25th. So this is basically what our sky is going to look like even tomorrow night. So there's Mars. Jupiter is kind of hanging out in around Taurus. Mars is up around Gemini right now. You got Saturn and Venus, as I mentioned, over here on the southwestern part of the sky. There's Neptune. Of course, Neptune and Uranus, you're not going to catch unless you use the telescope. So you've got 4 visible planets, naked eye planets, I'll call them, and then the other 2 are telescopic, and Mercury is not in the scene right now. So January does present our best views of most of the visible planets. I was going to say, so get out your binoculars and take a look. And take a look now, all the way to the end of the month. We'll have at least Saturn will be up for a little bit longer. But Venus is actually at its best and brightest right now as well. So,
but what's going to be nice about that is there's going to be so much in one small space in the sky, right?
Right.
You got Orion, Taurus, Pleiades. You got the twins. You got Mars, Jupiter, Taurus, all in one spot. So that's.
Well, it's fantastic. That's a beautiful southern sky, southeast to southwest is just perfect right now. Yeah. So if you can weather it, get outside even with a pair of binoculars, and you get great views of a lot of this. You don't need a telescope to enjoy this view for sure. Okay, and I'm going to move ahead here to our Lisa's Lookup. You can go to Lisa's Lookup Astronomy and More on Facebook, and you'll find this calendar that she gives me every month. This is the one for January, of course. So she lists the event here in the first column, and then we have the date of the event, and then we have the peak time. When's the best time to view it? She lists all that, and then what you need for seeing tools, naked eye, binoculars, or a telescope. Lisa had joined us on the program just recently. So you can follow Lisa at Ruby Moonbeams on Instagram, Mastodon, Facebook, Threads, and now on Blue Sky. And also, if you visit her on Facebook, you're going to find this page or post that she has up there. So you can check out the highlights for 2025. She has a downloadable copy here. So just click on the downloadable copy, print it off, put it up in your refrigerator, and you'll know what's coming up for the best highlights for 2025. So thank you for that, Lisa.
Good work.
Of course, also, you can find our calendar, which is here, the January-February 2025 calendar. This is put out by Kurt Nason, our local astronomy guru. And you can find the calendar at sjastronomy.ca. Mike's actually the webmaster on that page, so Mike does a great job keeping that page up to date for us. We're also members of rasknb.ca. But you can find the calendar at sjastronomy.ca. All you got to do is go in and click it and download it, and you're set to go. So I think that's about all I got to say about that there.
Excellent.
Ta-da.
You guys can chat there for a second if you don't mind, and I'll my other part up here and running. Because I can only get one video up at a time. So
Well, I got your link, Mike.
it's one of the breaks.
Ta-da.
Okay.
All right.
I just need to pop over here for a second. I got to close my photo notes, I think. I think I'm almost ready for closing. I think we are, aren't we? Yeah, it's 9:06. I guess we're close enough. Okay, so that's our show for this evening. Also, we all hope you enjoyed the program here tonight. Special thanks goes out to Marc Fitken, for joining us tonight, this evening.
Yes, sir. Very good.
Mark,
Thank you.
pleasure having you on the program, sir. Hope to have you back again.
Please.
Maybe in the spring or summertime.
Yep.
Let us keep us up to date on what's happening. And thank you very much for all that information. Now, next week's program, we're going to invite back our local astronomy guru again. Kurt Nason's coming back to provide another interesting constellation talk for us. Constellation of the month. That's what we have him in for. So our special thanks too goes out to Rosanna for another interesting fun fact episode. Thank you, Rosanna. And a special thanks to all of you who share our program with your friends and family. Now, remember too, we do love getting your photos. So send them in to astronomybythebay@gmail.com. We'll be happy to put them on our next broadcast. So until next week, everybody, wishing you all a very happy new year. Lots of clear skies in the future. And as we like to say, open your eyes to view the skies and keep your scopes. Pardon me, guys. Keep your scopes. Point it
Put it
up.
up.
Got it.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Nate.
Good night.